Don't give Man United a chance.
I've seen them at Wembley 3 times, and we live in Birmingham.
It's just great to be in the cup, you know, and you know, my brother's really pleased that he's going to be there. He said to me that he's going to hit a couple of goals in for me and a goal in for the rest of the lads, you know, so aye, it's just going to be a great cup day.
Who's your brother?
Mickey Quinn.
We've got Mark McGee and Mickey Quinn top goal scorers, 40 goals between the two of them this season, and I think we'll go all the way to Wembley.
Well, this is the West Stand here at St James's Park, which will shortly be officially named after one of the Newcastle club's favourite sons, Jackie Milburn. The club has a wonderful tradition of centre forwards, going right back to Scottish international Hughie Gallagher, 133 league goals for the club in 160 matches. He played before numbers were put on the back of shirts, and some great players followed him in the position.
And Walker slips it along the ground to Taylor, and he backheels it to Milburn and shoots, and it's a goal, a terrific goal by Milburn.
Robson. Young.
Well, he started the move and deserved to finish it, and a bad mistake, and it's a goal by Windy. It's a terrible mistake by River.
There's McDonald. Used his head well then. Taking on Deadman. Right foot shot is on, and a good one! Fine goal by Malcolm McDonald.
And it comes again to Keegan. And a fine cross to Wobble. Oh, yes!
Well, Mickey Quinn, the current Newcastle centre-forward, has got a lot to live up to, but he's doing pretty well. 26 goals already this season since signing from Portsmouth.
Injury, it was a groin strain, so they're both in the Newcastle United lineup. Roy Aitken, who came here from Celtic, is being described as the best buy since Kevin Keegan, and you can't offer higher praise than that. Alec Ferguson, Manchester United's manager, knows him well, as indeed he will know Mick Quinn's partner up front, Mark McGee, whom he brought from Aberdeen to end Mark McGee's first spell with Newcastle. The Manchester United lineup includes the only Geordie on the pitch. He's their captain, Steve Bruce. Mark Robbins comes into the starting team, with Russell Beardsmore dropping down to join Paul Ince on the substitutes bench. Robbins, you remember, scored the goal in the third round, which beat Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. That's the Gallowgate end of St James's Park, the popular end. There'll be plenty of noise coming from there, that's for absolute certainty. It's a marvellous ground now, particularly with this new Jackie Milburn stand, although how sad it is to come here and not to see War Jackie, one of the nicest people that football has ever produced. That's the famous line, away the lads. And there's the Geordie, Steve Bruce, and the Scot, Roy Aitken, the two skippers, and you can see the teams are changing ends. Steve Bruce made a particular point of the Geordie line. Kevin Dillon from the Newcastle side was born in Sunderland, and Kevin Scott from Easington in County Durham. But according to Steve Bruce, that doesn't count as being a Geordie. Jim Leighton wants a feel of the ball. Newcastle United will be hoping that he'll feel it when picking it out of the net, and he's come to the end. Well, there'll be pressure from behind as well as from in front. So, away the lads of both teams. It's quite a bright afternoon. Breeze seems to have dropped a bit. It's not as strong as it was an hour ago. Manchester United in red, Newcastle, of course, in stripes. Stimson trying to get a bit of touch of it, and so did Aitken, and Aitken might again. Mark Hughes trying to come goal side. Hughes again, scored at Millwall last week to end that desperate run that United had 11 matches without a win in the league. The referee is Danny Vickers, comes from Ilford in Essex. And his two linesmen are Richard Poulain, who has the flag with the yellow trim, and Martin Mountain of Mansfield, would you believe, who has the flag with the red trim. Well left by Kevin Scott, and back in goal, one of the goalkeeping characters, John Burridge. It's Mark Stimson, began his career at Tottenham. Great applause for the ginger-headed Sweeney. Looks as though he's been to the barber, doesn't it? There's Viv Anderson. Touch for Darren Bradshaw, who's made his way into the team, getting a second chance really. He was given a free transfer by Sheffield Wednesday. McGee and Pallister having a wrestling match. Well spread out by Duxbury. Martin in trouble. And here's Ray Ransom. Quinn wants it early, far side. He didn't look up quickly enough. A terrible miskick by Pallister, which he got away with. Phelan. Johnny Wallace coming back to collect and didn't need to. But Ray Ransom really should have looked up then, because Mark McGee was unmarked. Player down is Wallace. Jim McGregor, the physiotherapist from Manchester United. Wallace, who's had so much trouble with hamstring injuries since he came. You can see Quinn at the top of the picture there, and at one point he was quite clearly unmarked, and the long cross would have found him.
Good example for youngsters there as well, Barry. Gary Pallister trying to clear the ball with the outside of his right foot, where really it was on his left foot to clear it, and that's not the sort of first touch he would have wanted in this sort of game. Middlesbrough lad, there he is, thinking about that one. Coming back to the northeast, and I'm sure wanted to make a good impression, as his recent form suggests.
There's Mickey Quinn, and the free kick is given. Followed by Martin. Brock, who takes it, put away by Anderson for the corner. First of the contest comes in the 4th minute. Kevin Dillon makes the first run, and Leighton gets the fist. Here's Dillon, and Leighton again. Managed to keep it in play and wasn't too keen on the challenge that he got from Mark McGee, who were colleagues, of course, at Aberdeen under Alec Ferguson. Manchester United have started with 3 up, but they've had rather more to do at the back so far in the first 5 minutes of the match. Doubt if there are many around who will remember the only previous meeting between these two sides. Certainly none in that crowd will. You have to be 81 years old and then a very bright starter in life, because they met in 1909. Manchester United, for the record, won by the only goal of the contest. McGee. Good clearance by Bruce. He was a bit exposed to. The flag is up for offside, but play is continuing. And 3 trains had left Newcastle station while the referee waited, but then finally saw the flag. Bruce with McGee, Pallister with Quinn. Pallister's extra height, much to his advantage there. Ray Ranson. That's nice. And good cover by Mike Phelan.
Kevin Brock there, who scored a few vital goals for Oxford, didn't he, when he was there?
Wallace. Also might be said, Trevor, that it's Howard Kendall's favourite player. It was he who made the famous back pass. Everton went on to start their climb under Kendall. That's a good try. Brian McClare. It was struck across with some pace. And McClare launched himself. Might have met it more full, actually.
Yeah, skimmed off his head rather than headed it firmly. Those sort of crosses for me are the best of the lot, because they go in at pace. They don't give a time for a defender to adjust. Much better those than the ones hanging in the air.
I can remember you heading many in, Trevor.
Got a better memory than me.
And not for the facts. Manchester United's free kick. The free kick will be taken again because the ball was moving. Viv Anderson has joined those forward. Calling for it too. Pallister. It's too long. Hanging a little bit in the air. Phelan. Chased by Robbins. Scott was there ahead of him. Robbins. Good play by Martin. Not good play by Brock. Wallace. He was calm, but I would think that he might well have worried the watching Jim Smith, the Newcastle United manager. Jim Smith was only writing in the programme the other day, managing this lot would drive me to distraction. That was after the 3-3 draw in the previous round at Reading, because of a certain amount of committing suicide. Wallace to take the free kick. Anderson. Sweeney covering on McClare. Quite pleasant sunshine, and the great roar is because a youngster came out of the crowd from the top stand to get the ball and fell on the roofing of the boxes on the far side. His climb back is none the worse for the incident. Hughes does well, and the cross was a good one, but there were 2 men offside. Robbins and McClare. After all the industry from Mark Hughes. Very much a popular player at Old Trafford, but not the easiest of players to play with.
Well, I think it was a classic example of how difficult it is. He got the ball from a throw-in with Anderson, and he kept the ball up for 3 or 4 opportunities, and then knocked it back to Viv Anderson, and he got a block tackle there, Viv, and he's limping a bit. And I don't think he was too pleased with the fact that Mark Hughes didn't give him straight back to it.
McGee. Brock. Kevin Dillon trying to sort it out successfully. Brock again. It's McGee with Pallister. Ranson available. Newcastle ball. Wallace. Nifty turn. But he's not going to get through that challenge. Kevin Brock. The ball came off Wallace. Newcastle ball again. Slightly unkind bounce. The attempt to spread it out didn't work. Won by Scott. Cover by Dillon. This is Aitken. Plenty of licence to get forward, Roy Aitken, from his position in front of the back 4. McGee, that's a fine ball to Sweeney. Difficult, but in the end, didn't trouble Jim Leighton. And Sweeney will be disappointed. He really should have done better with that. He had plenty of time.
Can't blame the hair in his eyes anyway, Barry. But I think a great ball, early ball from Mark McGee, wasn't it? I mean, he and Quinn have scored a lot of goals, but McGee's very underrated on the floor. Got a lot of ability, and that was a super early pass. There he is, walking back to lay it wide to Sweeney.
Going around a bit, McGee, his career including a time with Hamburg in Germany. McClare, Hughes. Duxbury to Martin, who was blind, and with his pass, Ray Ransom. That's applause, but in truth he didn't carry it that well. McGee again. Good challenge by Bruce, that's a foul surely. Steve Bruce completed 2 years at Old Trafford last December. Born actually in this city. Bradshaw. Pallister and Quinn. Pallister won that comfortably. Duxbury took a bit too long. Put up. Free kick given against Bruce.
Very competitive Stevie Bruce, and that second tackle knocked down Mark McGee. I wouldn't have thought was far away from a booking. Another one he could be in there.
Comes down to Phelan. Bit of a push there by Stimson. A good advantage played. This is Brian McClare. Hughes in the middle. Wallace coming from the far side. It was a fine break, but a poor ball in. Wallace really didn't have too much chance of getting after that. "15 minutes gone, and the supporters behind John Burridge are those who travelled up from Manchester. Steve Bruce is only just back from suspension from being sent off in the match against Derby County. timely moment for him to come back, and United face a partnership which between them have managed 42 goals. Quinn and McGee, 26 and 16. Quinn the 26. Robbins, off Scott.
Those sort of balls will be difficult because they haven't got a lot of pace, Quinn and McGee. They do prefer it to feet.
Robbins and Scott. Bradshaw. And the free kick is against Quinn for backing in. I think taking a bit of time, because I think he was slightly winded in that challenge. Duxbury. Nice ball from Bruce. Martin. Duxbury. Hughes! Good stop. Struck it well, Mark Hughes. A smile on the face of John Burridge. Every goalkeeper's pleased when he's made the first decent stop of the contest, and that was a very good one, right on his 6-yard line. Turn by Sweeney. Not a bad idea to shoot early because Jim Leighton was well forward, and the long legs of Viv Anderson were in danger of coming around for the ball. Sweeney didn't really get hold of the shot. Again, the wind is a little bit of a problem. Good chest by Duxbury. A bit of holding by Dillon, but the referee plays the advantage again. It doesn't accrue. Bigger Union Jacks there in the crowd. And on the far side they're enjoying quite bright sunshine. This is McGee. Bruce's tackle again. Well played indeed.
It's his second timely interception he's done on McGee. McGee, as you see, not afraid to take people on, but at the moment Stevie Bruce coped very well.
Was almost inevitable. Defender on Hughes was Kevin Dillon. Martin. Robbins, another good ball to Phelan. And Brock sorts it out and gives it away. Phelan. Curious. Corner is given. I say curious, there was double cover then on Wallace, except the second man covering wasn't covering behind the first man. That has just come up to the near post. Anderson just on the edge of the 6-yard area. And they all miss it except Robbins. It's in. Robbins has done it again. The goal in the 20th minute. Mark Robbins, second in the FA Cup. Burridge missed it. Wasn't truly struck by Robbins. He just nodded it down, which I think pulled Sweeney on the line. But the referee was well placed and immediately pointed for the goal.
Well, amazing. Mark Robbins, one of the smallest players on the pitch. Just as against Nottingham Forest, he gets a header. And if you actually see it, right from the corner kick, he was unmarked on the edge of the 6-yard box, never got picked up. John Burridge didn't come from the cross, and he actually misheaded it, but it went in off the post, and United are ahead.
And it was almost, when the ball came to him, as though he was saying, where did that come from? Because it just a nod down, and it was so effective.
Jimmy mentioned before the game about Newcastle conceding too many goals, and there is a really great example of very poor marking, and Jim Smith will be terribly disappointed they conceded such a goal like that.
Brock. Phelan. Free kick is to Newcastle. Fouled by Duxbury. This is Quinn. Brock. The pass was intended for McGee, and McClare just stepped in front of him. Look at the goal from the other side, and you can see how poor the marking was. Robbins again winning out in the air. On by Quinn. Anderson. Attempt. Dillon was making the run. Hughes. Phelan. Well spread out by McClare. This is Wallace. Good play by Wallace, but not the finish. Say that some of the Newcastle supporters do themselves no credit with the reaction that they're producing to Dele Wallace. The sun is shining on them, but they don't notice it. Their side are down. That might not be for long. Good stop! Leighton face to face with Mickey Quinn. He did awfully well then. No marking at all. His foot was up and he got the ball, never took his eye off it for a second. Quinn has come. So far, things working. Craddock Ferguson is watching from the stand in the director's box. Choice of Robbins has come off, and his goalkeeper's made a very good start. Brock might have gone for goal. Long run again from McClare. Stimson just will need to hold him out there, and does. Brock. Roy Aitken. Ray Ransom. Gibson gives it away to Duxbury. Robbins. Run for Wallace, covered by Ray Ransom. Ray Ransom, who played in the '81 Cup final for Spurs, and for Manchester City against Spurs, I should say. And actually was the first person beaten by Ricky Villa on that fantastic run that produced the winning goal. as Bruce took the ball and prevented the quick throw. Ranson. Robbins. Intercepted by Stimson, who'd come across to this side. Dillon. Stimson. Dillon again. Sweeney. Got ball and marker at the same time. Stimson once more. Few nothing balls being played in by Newcastle. Sweeney. Anderson still feeling that knock. He got really courtesy of his colleague, Mark Hughes. Aitken. Dillon, stretching, so was Phelan. Taken by Bradshaw. Brock. McGee. Aitken. He's square across the field then. Ranson, have a crack. Well, he did of sorts. McGee. Dillon, it's a better try. Kevin Dillon hasn't scored in his career at Newcastle, but scored his first ever goal against Manchester United. Started with Jim Smith at Birmingham and then went on to Portsmouth for 7 seasons. Martin. Track wasn't madly well organised then by United. Some started to move forward, others stayed back. Bruce. And the game is a little untidy at the moment, and Newcastle in some need of inspiration. All really well having the front two, but somebody's got to supply better passes in than they've received to date. Robbins is inside. Good cover by Scott. McGee rolled it down to Dillon. He tries to find Sweeney. Emerson is applauded by his goalkeeper. At this juncture, the First Division side has a measure of control. They aren't actually playing that well themselves. Here's Sweeney. Won by Pallister. We've had the first half an hour. And you can see then when Anderson got up from using the elastic legs. But we're still feeling the knock. Duxbury. Dillon. Sweeney. Royakin. That's a bit short. It's become very popular very quickly, Royakin. 13 seasons he had at Celtic. Out by Anderson. Duxbury's clearance. Sweeney, offside against Quinn.
Newcastle at the moment relying a lot on effort, but lacking any real subtlety to break the Manchester United side down. And you know, I think they've been rattled quite badly by such a poor goal that they conceded.
Scott. A kick against Ransom. There's reaction to the referee's whistle, or just be ignored by any watching schoolboy. Bruce changes the angle. Anderson looks for Hughes. One or two in the Newcastle United defence were wondering where the ball had gone. Still another ball watching going on. Newcastle ball. Brock. Two waiting. Easy clearing header from Pallister. Picked up well by Stimson. That's a better pass. Brock. And still. Blocked by Bruce. Out to Dillon. Stimson. It's not a bad ball either. This is McGee. Leclerc was quickly at him. Good turn though. Well, a bit of a buzz about that. Certainly a moment from Brock, but offered. Here's Dillon. Good cover. Doesn't take too much to lift the crowd, and they in turn to lift the team. Leighton stays, and it fell for Bradshaw, fell so awkwardly. Still on. Brock. Bradshaw again. Oh dear. Hughes' clearance of sorts. Oh, I don't believe it. Goodness me. Well, it had nothing at all to do with quality, but certainly all the mistakes produced a deal of excitement.
A comedy of errors, wasn't it? Amazing. I think it was a bit unfortunate. It was Darren Bradshaw who ended up with the first chance, because being a centre-back, he didn't react quite as quickly. Then Mark Hughes, I think, trod on the ball. And then there was another scramble. It was quite amazing. There's Bradshaw, and he'll know there was a golden opportunity to grab one or two headlines.
Quinn. Brock. Cover by Pallister. Ten minutes of the half remaining. Manchester United leading by the goal from Mark Robbins. This came in the 20th minute. Quinn and Bruce. It's a good cross and turned away very, very coolly indeed by Anderson. But there's a little bit of a roll here from the home side. Certainly Leighton was very happy to see that pushed away. Sweeney into the sun. And Phelan taking no chances. McGee, Scott and Quinn all within touching distance of the line. Leighton rather paws it away. Sweeney, Quinn. Ransom. Best spell of pressure from Newcastle. Whether you can describe it as concerted is questionable. They win a corner. Scott comes forward again. Dillon wants it taken quickly. Brock ignores him. Mark McGee covered by Pallister. Some room for the cross, not a bad one either. Sweeney at the back. Instead of coming in on it, he had to turn and watch it go over his head. Dillon, Aitken, needed the first time shot. Dillon. Well, he struck it cleanly enough. And from Newcastle's point of view, it's a pity that Roy Aitken didn't try the save.
Enjoyed their best spell of the game so far. 1 or 2 good moves down the right. And the pitch just drying out a bit, what with the wind we've had, and makes it a little bit bobbly. And certainly should have chanced his arm first time, but sometimes when it is bobbly, you try and have that extra touch. But of course, at this level, you don't get that opportunity.
McGee just onside. This is Brock. No support outside him. Tries the other way. This is Sweeney. It's a corner. Corner number 5 for Newcastle. It's Kevin Scott we were watching, coming to stand right in front of Jim Leighton. It's curled and it's out by Pallister. I think only Roy Aitken can tell me whether that was a shot or an intended pass out to the left. Dillon. Over the head of Brock. They never seem to have anybody coming in from the far angle. Ball was out of play. Aitken to Quinn. Linesman looked very closely from the far side. Brock. Free kick. No, it's not. It's a goal kick. Scott. Anderson hesitated but made the right decision. So just 5 minutes of the first half left. Manchester United leading by 1-0. Ball coming to the scorer. Well, he hoped it would. It came in said to Scott. Mark Robins' goal in the 20th minute divides the teams. Bruce. came in last season, and he has kept a regular place. Won by Scott. Mark Robbins actually hasn't seen very much of the ball except when he scored.
Not a bad habit to have, I suppose. But he is one of those players, isn't he? I think he's a goal. I mean, we're seeing one or two other games where he hasn't scored and he's been very, very quiet, and that's why he was left out of the side. But brought in today by Alex Ferguson, come up trumps.
Actually, on second thought, Trevor, I'm not sure how much he saw of the ball when he did score. Stimson. Okay. Quinn. Awkward pass, but he got it through to Brock. Ray Ranson. Again, Sweeney had come in rather too early. Stimson. Kevin Scott. Kevin Brock. Kevin Dillon. Wide. Oh, three Kevins doing their best to contrive something for Newcastle. Brock, who played it through. Dillon, as he was falling. But I think he's played a significant part in Newcastle's best spell, certainly their comeback in the later stages of this first half. Robbins. Sweeney. Anderson looking comfortably balanced and wins it with ease. He resists the challenge of Pallister. Phelan tidies up. Chase from McClare. Well won by Bradshaw. John Burridge is still way off his line, but he's back now. Ransom. Quinn. Jim Smith, I want to see Quinn in that sort of position. He's in a better one now. Here for handball. Not given. Ransom. Manchester United pushing up on McGee and Quinn, playing quite flat across the back. Dillon. And again. And again. Nice play from Brock. Big tour in the middle, but the ball is not. And that really has been the story for Newcastle United. The final ball leaves much to be desired.
Well, the crosses have ranged from short to far, but only one. That was the one by Mark McGee, which Jim Leighton came out and just took off Mickey Quinn's toes. That's the only quality cross. And as you say, Barry, that has been the difference. It's Manchester United, a little bit of pressure taken off them by that goal. And really, both goalkeepers, apart from that, haven't had a lot to do, a lot of saves and a lot of midfield play. But as I say, Newcastle wasting the possession, particularly in the last 20 minutes leading up to the half-time whistle.
Free kick is Newcastle's way. Stimson. Quinn has won, I think, nothing in the air off either Bruce or Pallister. Not the best of challenges by Phelan, and it offers Newcastle a chance. As we're now playing what Mr. Vickers has allowed for the odd stoppage. Can't be too much. Ransom takes. And Pallister clears. Brock. It's a corner. Again, Mr. Vickers Marcus looks at his watch. Dear. And the half comes to an end in this contest of the Uniteds with the team from Manchester. Danny Wallace, the last to come out for Manchester United. One of the £1 million players. I don't think there's any doubt that Kevin Brock, if you looked at the possession that players had during the course of the first 45 minutes, he saw the ball more than anyone. But it was his header right off the forelock, which was the most decisive touch of the half. Mark Robbins, and it's going to be the scorer who will get the second half on its way. And it's perhaps the greatest truism in football. What a difference a goal would make here to Newcastle United. Maybe the failure to end things will suddenly produce a totally different side if they could somehow manage to finish something. The crowd are willing them on, that's for sure. Dillon, Aitken. Brock did well to take it, the space on the right. Ray Ranson offers himself. But pace of the ball, the bounce of the ball, too much. Won by Bradshaw. Leclerc's pass, and it reaches Michael Phelan. Wallace. Leclerc waiting, so is Robbins. And Scott needing the help of Stimson. Free kick against Mark Hughes. United's top scorer, Mark Hughes, but only with 10. Player who has 4 hasn't scored for 17 games. Little flick that comes off. Quinn. I think that's his first strike on goal. Good flick by Mark McGee, which left Pallister, but the ball was just slightly further forward than Quinn would have wished when he struck it.
Well, it's a great touch by McGee, and I just feel, when you're in those situations, he leant back a little bit, and that's why he went over the crossbar, as you say, he was stretching. But one of the coaching terms is hit it for the far post, because Sweeney was running in. He'd just got a yard on Viv Anderson, and you're just going to miss the far post, and there's a chance the player coming in at the far post can get a touch and it goes in. But where in fact the shot ended up, there was no chance.
Quinn tries to return the compliment, at least with the back heel to find Brock. Duxbury made it his. Looking for Hughes, and the punch-out comes to Wallace. Still Wallace. Robbins, and it's blocked. And an escape for Burridge. Wallace waited a long time with the bounce, and Burridge had the fortune in the end.
Well, Danny Wallace there, a bit disappointed. That shot comes saved, didn't result in a second goal. John Burridge, not the tallest of goalkeepers, when he comes for those type of crosses, tends to punch them rather than some taller keepers would catch them. But then he made up for it with a great reaction save from Robbins.
McGee is offside. And it was Mike Robbins who had the last Manchester United touch in that move. see Wallace there waiting for the right bounce. I'm sure he thought a couple of times about the right foot shot. Then he took on his man well. Blocked on the line, and it needed the defender to save the day. Darren Bradshaw certainly helping out John Burridge. Here's Wallace again. Again he delayed, it seemed to me, with a possible shot.
There's a free kick there to Newcastle. Again, the critics of Mark Hughes would say, well, that was unnecessary. The defender's just going to clear the ball. He's not really going to get a chance of actually intercepting it, and he goes in late and gives away an unnecessary free kick. And I think if sometimes he concentrated on just playing football rather than getting involved in a physical battle, he'd be that much better.
No foul, says Mr. Vickers. Here's Mark McGee. Aitken has gone outside. McGee, penalty! Bruce bringing down McGee, and a penalty to Newcastle. No doubt about it at all. McGee took them on. Aitken had formed the extra man outside, wasn't needed, and Bruce brings down Mark McGee, and Newcastle had the chance from the penalty spot. Down to Jim Leighton. When the wind abates sufficiently for the ball to be put on the spot, it's going to be McGee himself who will take it. Looking for his 17th goal of the season, which will really lift the noise around St James's Park. And it does. Into the roof, with Leighton going the other way. Good penalty. And as I suggested at the start of the half, what a difference a goal makes.
Deserved it, Mark McGee, as he took the defenders on. I mean, in the first half, 3 or 4 occasions, Steve Bruce made good tackles, but he persevered. There he is, trying to make sure the supporters get off quickly, because Newcastle as a team now, they've got their momentum going, they've got level, and they certainly don't want it delayed. They want to get underway with this match. But a good bit of individual skill to win the penalty, and certainly no hesitation when he tucks it away.
A little ironic, because Steve Bruce has certainly been Manchester United's best defender, but Jim Smith, who, as you saw earlier, had come down to the bench, stood alongside Bobby Saxton, enjoying the moment rather more than the gentleman second from left as we look, Alec Ferguson. Well, if ever there was a crowd waiting for a goal, it's surely at the Gallagate end. The sun has far greater warmth now. And at the other end, as they say, it's all gone quiet. Hughes. It's Phelan who felt the knock. And not the first good piece of tidying up by Mark Stimson. Quinn and McGee certainly not together then. Hughes took it well, and again it's Stimson with a head of the way this time. Dylan Stearns. And Manchester United are going to make a substitution. It's Russell Beardsmore waiting to come on. Bruce's clearance. Simpson's head. Quinn took it down nicely. A drop pass for McGee. Another wild challenge by Sweeney. And the substitution can now be made. Manchester United bringing off the scorer, Mark Robbins, and replacing him with Russell Beardsmore. And we're looking back at the run by Mark McGee. Absolutely no question of penalty. And here's young Russell Beardsmore. 21-year-old, in fact, replacing a 20-year-old. Here's Sweeney. Well robbed by McClare.
Just for the change, there's McLeod running back, but in fact the Beardsmore's gone over to play left side midfield, and it means Danny Wallace has gone up front with Mark Hughes, probably going to try and utilise Danny Wallace's pace, but Mark Robbins probably feel a little bit disappointed having got on the score sheet, find himself off now.
McClare taking on Stimson. Goal kick. Playing well for Manchester United, Brian McClare. He was an out-and-out front man. He's dropped back to midfield. And the front two that they have up at the moment, Trevor, quite often it seems to me that neither is quite sure what he himself is going to do. So how does one read the other?
Well, I've seen him play centre midfield, where he's more effective than he is out wide as a flank player. He certainly, for me, is wasted there.
Here's Wallace. This thing taken off it by Kevin Dillon. No foul, says the referee. This is Sweeney. McClare in midfield and Wallace and Hughes up front. Well, they worked it well together then. Oh, that's an awful bounce. It hit a divot that had been lifted out of the ground. He bounced in an extraordinary fashion. Wallace. Good climb by Ranson. Duxbury. McClare inside. Duxbury does well. Anderson. There are four for Manchester United up. Beardsmore. Dillon made it his. And again. Offside. Each of these sides has won the cup 6 times, which equals the record of Blackburn Rovers and puts them one behind Aston Villa and Spurs. Twice in the 80s for Manchester United. We've got to go back to the 50s for the heyday of Newcastle United. Nicely in by Quinn. This is Roy Aitken. obviously felt that he was going to be captured if he didn't. But that was, for a moment, set up to be Roy of the Rovers stuff. But he hit it early as he was being chased, and it wasn't really a major problem for Jim Leighton. Offside against Mark McGee. Manchester United with 4 up from this free kick. Won by Bradshaw. Anderson. McClare. Stimson for company. Wallace! Yes! Oh, what a finish! What a finish! Right on the hour. Marvellous strike by the little fella. McClare did well. Had Stimson on the wrong foot. But it was made by a superb finish. Just that little dart to the right. And my heaven, he thumped it. Angle was tight, but he found it.
Great close control there. Turned very sharp, and as Jimmy was saying at half-time, only little players can turn quite as sharp as that. Just got half a yard of space and blasted it in. Not a bad tactical switch by Alex Ferguson, was it? Brought Mark Robbins in. He's got to go in the first half. Decided to take him off. Danny Wallace up front, and there he rewards Alex Ferguson again with a goal, which I think is a little bit more relieved now.
Yes, I think you might say that one of his major purchases showed that individually is a very good player. If he could get all those individuals to work together, collectively, he could have a side in the making. Excellent goal. Leighton. 2 bites.
Wrong foots, Simpson well, drives in across, one touch, little touch with the left, and doesn't worry about picking his spot. He knows from a few yards out, if he blasts it, the chances are it's going to go in, and John Burridge, just as well for him, didn't get in the way.
It's only his 4th goal since his transfer from Southampton. How priceless will it prove to be? He'll be feeling a good deal happier now, Steve Bruce. Celebration now is behind Jim Leighton's goal. It's very quiet at Gallowgate. Stimson. Allowed the advantage. Quinn has stayed down. That's well spread out by Hughes. Beardsmore, Phelan in the middle. Wallace further over. And Mick Quinn has a bit of a stiff neck tomorrow morning. And Bruce flew through the air and was taken for a ride by Quinn, who felt the full weight. And first of all, there was a knock on the back of the head from Bruce. What a contrast now. 1 minute, one end, the celebration, then the other. Who will have the last laugh? Quinn, made by Bruce. Dillon. Dillon again. Rock. And eventually, two to find, but he'll wait for the corner. McGee and Quinn on the goal line. Roy Aitken hovering around the penalty spot. And he's down! And the ball is in! Kevin Scott. Leighton came for it. Oh, he certainly was caught. And Kevin Scott with the header. Jim Leighton, unlucky there for me. And the header came off Viv Anderson from Kevin Scott. But it's two apiece. 65 minutes, all square again. And daggers drawn, the expression in the eyes of Jim Leighton. He was certainly unlucky, and Viv Anderson is continuing the protest. But no doubt that Jim Leighton fell over Quinn as he tried to come for the ball.
Well, I quite agree. Definitely impeded. Nicky Quinn watching Jim Leighton as he was going to come for the cross, balked his run, tripped him up, and Kevin Scott bundled it into an empty net, and Jim Leighton was just now looking across towards the linesman. Viv Anderson should know better though, really, than complete sort of complaining like that, but it was, I think, a bad decision.
But the score is 2-all. We haven't got a ball to play with at the moment. Here comes a replacement. Look at Quinn, he looks for him, there's no doubt about that, he looks for him. Clear foul, and Scott came in. Anderson is already appealing instead of going for the ball, which I suppose you have to say is an error on the part of an international defender. But even so, Manchester United extremely unlucky. Bruce and Quinn. Alistair. Dillon, robbed by Hughes. Aitken. Phelan.
Suddenly we got a real cut to, haven't we? Spectacular goal, controversy, mistakes, real cut to atmosphere, as I say. And Jim Leighton there, I'm sure, will have a few words to say after the game about that second goal.
Free kick to Newcastle. Scott has come up. There's a bit of push and shove with McClare. McGee alongside Quinn, who's the first to go. Manchester ball. Building in the background of one of the halls of residence of Newcastle University. Scott. Bradshaw. McGee. Dillon! And he feels that he's due a goal. Nicely set up by McGee.
Very impressed with Mark McGee. He's laid it off very well. Kevin Dillon joining now. It's set up nicely. One of those, not on his favourite foot though, more right-footed, and that one popped up unfortunately for him on his left.
Beardsmore. Hughes and Scott's free kick against Scott. Martin. Wallace. Good challenge by Bradshaw. Flag is up on the far side, but for offside play now will surely continue. Bruce, good header. Offside again against Hughes. Simpson. Dillon. This is McGee. Trying to get the ball back. Anderson alive to it. We've had 70 minutes of this cup tie. We've had 4 goals. It's 2 apiece. 20 minutes remaining. Quinn is on the far post from the corner kicker's viewpoint. Won by Pallister. Brock. Great ooh, but not to be. Mickey Quinn gets to his feet. Got there first that time quite legitimately. But couldn't direct it in from Brock's cross. Got in front of Steve Bruce, though, for the header, but the angle was against him. And a couple of students watching from those halls of residence, as I mentioned. Got a good view from there, too, particularly that last incident. Evans as the referee. This is Phelan. Possibilities here with Wallace, man outside. But he couldn't turn to make the pass because Ray Ranson denied him. Dillon. Sweeney on the touchline. The big 2 down the middle. McGee comes away. Quinn and Bruce. McGee. Brock waiting. Quinn. Almost given it by Duxbury. Nice turn.
Well, Manchester United have allowed themselves to get rattled. They got angry at the decision, and here just turned in. Mickey Quinn, big lad, but does very well here, really. Just turns, makes half a shooting chance. Just shows you don't have to go past defenders to give yourself a shooting opportunity.
Been a fine, Darren Bradshaw. Owes much to Bobby Saxton, the number 2 here. Brought him from Chesterfield to York and then on to Newcastle, and he became assistant to Jim Smith. Well won by Quinn. Well held off too in the challenge. Ranson. But not sufficiently handsome. Scott. Dillon. Tried to get the early ball, but in haste didn't quite find it. But he's had a more than useful match, Kevin Dillon. He's just popped into the 30s now. This man is ahead of him in age, Viv Anderson. Stimson and McClare, and the referee will talk to them when they've stopped having the conversation Beardsmore. Intended for Phelan, but Beardsmore just couldn't get rounded enough. Phelan, McClare, good nod down, nice touch from Wallace. From Quinn on Bruce. Bruce very cool about it. Won by Roy Aitken. Quiet period as Newcastle in particular cleared their loins for a final assault. Manchester United presumably with half an eye on a replay next Wednesday at Old Trafford. Dillon held it up nicely and Aitken had a lot of space. A very mixed match as McClare. Better things have been in ending rather than finishing. Ending something done by the opposition rather than in finishing what he himself wants to do. Offside. It's McGee. And Mike Duxbury is about to be withdrawn. Ready to be replaced by another £1 million man, Paul Ince, whose presence on the pitch actually now costs Manchester United another £5,000 because this is his 21st appearance since he was signed by West Ham, and the deal was £800,000 plus £5,000 for every appearance over 20 for 5 seasons, if you can follow all that. Scott. Ince has taken the same position on the pitch as Duxbury held. Ince looking for Wallace and may have found him. Little touch, McClare! McClare scores. 17 games without a goal. He's chosen a very good moment to end the drought. It was Ince, though, who played the telling ball. A little bit of push and shove there between Wallace and Bradshaw. Turn, and on came McClare, and Manchester United lead 3-2. By no means the best strike of the ball that McClare has ever made, but it could be priceless.
Well, it's £5,000 worth of ball from Paul Ince there. Danny Wallace very unselfish, and as you say, Brian McClare just knocking it towards goal rather than picking his spot. Very relieved, and again the game switches round 3-2.
While we looked at that replay, Newcastle United make a substitution. They brought on Brazil, Gary Brazil, and he's replaced Paul Sweeney. This is Aitken, that's set back, blocked by Pallister, shot was from Brock. Looks could kill. I bet there was one then from Leighton to Quinn. Anderson. Try is we shall not be moved at the Manchester United end. Dillon. Twice they've come back, Newcastle United. Minutes left. Bradshaw. Stimson. Dillon. Curious return ball. Oh, mistake by Anderson. Brazil, Dillon. Nice footwork by Dillon. They're going nowhere fast. And Hughes and Scott doing a little bit of arm linking and inquiring about each other's health. And Jim Smith having his word to say too. Free kick is against Hughes, who was knocked by Scott, but I do not believe he was knocked sufficiently for Hughes to go down like that.
He might have just caught his elbow, but I mean, he really asked for a lot of what he got, because just before that, which is what brought Jim Smith off the bench, he did come in very late. But it's been a very niggly second half. I mean, you know, it's not been an easy game for referee Danny Vickers and the two linesmen. Alex, there he is. And even the incident on the corner kick, you know, you're watching the flight of the ball, and really both linesmen and the referee really had to watch what else has been going on, and that particular incident with Jim Leighton is something that we can easily look at afterwards. But when you're in a crowded box like that, it is a problem. And I'm sure he's having a word now with Mark Hughes about one or two of those late incidents going in on defenders.
There's to prove the old truth that referees need eyes in the back of their head. 8 minutes left. Here's Roy Aitken. He handled the ball twice then. First one was given. Roy Aitken, 5 times a winner of the Scottish Cup, including last season when he held it aloft at Hampden. Glory, glory, Man United. Beardsmore. Scott, only to Ince. I think that's only his second touch. His first one was very important. It's a goal kick. Scott, Ince again. Hughes, almost getting feet in the way. Good cover by Ray Ransom. Dillon. Couple of touches then, which were not quite what he was hoping for. Bradshaw had played it back. Handball by Dillon. Not in any particular hurry. There's just 6 minutes left. On by Hughes, Wallace. Corner. Gary Pallister making his way forward. McGee and Quinn come back. And Bruce Makes it 2 against 2 with the defenders coming up to attack Newcastle. Certainly driven, but driven into the side netting. He certainly won the contest for scoring the best goal of the match. We're into the last 5 minutes. First division side leading the second by 3-2. Hughes, lost out to Simpson. Pallister, block, aware of who's wide, and it's Ranson. He waited quite a long time, drew in Russell Beardsmore. Aitken wouldn't come down. It's got a deflection, McGee, good punch. Back again by Aitken, must be offside. McGee offside. Face of determination, one and then the other. A good punch by Jim Leighton. He's been criticised a great deal this season, Jim Leighton, but he's made telling saves in this match and was hugely unlucky with the second Newcastle goal. Bradshaw comes back to him. Brock, it's a long run for Ranson, and it was a run too far. Gate end at St James's Park, surprisingly quiet. Two indeed making their way away. 3 minutes left. Free kick is against Hughes. Everybody goes forward. Charge before the ball is delivered. Here it comes. Scott, well up by Pallister. Dillon, with difficulty, but effective. Brazil, showed too much to McClare. Ince. Mark McGee, not given the chance to turn by Anderson. Snagged by Ranson. Good play by Ranson. Here's Quinn. Good challenge by Bruce. Brazil. 4 waiting for the cross. Now 5, now 6. It doesn't come. And the free kick is to Newcastle. Brazil. Stimson. Dillon. Bashed away by Beardsmore. Bradshaw is the back man. Dillon. Appeal for handball not given. Bruce gets there before Quinn.
Well, if Manchester United do hang on in these last few seconds, I think Alex Ferguson, much maligned manager, might think back to 2 or 3 decisions he's made. First of all, Mark Robbins, bringing him into the game. He popped up with a goal. Then early in the second half, he took him off, put Danny Wallace down the middle. He popped up with a goal. Then he brought Paul Ince on, and his first touch created the 3rd goal. So I think he'll enjoy the rest of today.
And for the record, I should tell you that before the match, Alex Ferguson, who's supposed to be the man most under pressure in football, could not possibly have been more relaxed or in a better mood. It's an encampment on the edge of the Manchester United area. Two go for the same man. Tim Leighton, who's played his part. Scott, who beat him once. And we're now playing the time. Mr. Vickers has allowed for stoppages, including a long talk to Viv Anderson. This is Ince. That's a good ball. And a good save from Ince. Manchester United supporters encouraging Mr. Vickers to blow the final whistle. Not a good pass from Quinn to Aitken. Beardsmore. John Burridge starts to bring it forward. He's got to find the right ball. Comes off Bruce. Anderson's long legs get there. Leclerc brings it away. Gives it away. Stimson. McGee coming in. Good punch again. It's McGee who goes down. Fine piece of goalkeeping. Jim Smith on his feet. Quinn battles for it. Pallister. Handball. Good save. Field for handball. I think it may well have been given. McGee is prostrate in the area. Some finish this.
I think, in fact, it was Mickey Quinn, another off-the-ball incident, was trying to nudge Stevie Bruce out of the way. There's the two managers. Good to see, isn't it, after a cup tie like that, having a laugh at the end.
We've played already 90 seconds of time allowed. There'll be a little bit more. A look at the watch by the referee, Jim Smith, praying that he won't blow the whistle. Another look by Mr. Vickers. Another charge forward by Newcastle United. On by Quinn. Brock. It's got to be got into the middle. Brock again. And it's a Manchester United ball. Aitken. Useful cross, no, it's too close to the goalkeeper. The nail biting, but dare not look. Manchester United